Hi, I am Stephen J. Cochran, author and game designer. For the last 5 years, I've been working on my latest creation, Morticians, a tabletop role-playing game. On Living with Reaper, we'll be sharing insight into storytelling, the game's design, and lore. So sit back in that recovered lounge chair and crack open a ration. This is Living with Reaper.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Living with the Reaper. I'm your host, I'm your Reaper, Stephen J. Cochran, creator of Morticians RPG. And let's see here, I'm supposed to have a little box right here next to me. Here we go, and bada bing, bada boom. There you go. Hey, if you haven't had a chance, go ahead and check out the game at Drivethru-RPG. Drivethru-RPG, and give it a gander. It's an encounter box called Crossroads, the Introductory box set, Introductory Undertaking, and it is designed to introduce you to the Morticians world. If you're a new gamer to tabletop role-playing games and love the zombie apocalypse, I can't highly recommend it enough. It'll introduce you to how to play role-playing games, how to get into the zombie apocalypse and not only survive but potentially thrive, which is something our competitors don't seem to want to do with their players. But you have the opportunity to live in this world and become the hero of your dreams. So, like I said, swing by Drivethru-RPG and check it out today. Links are in the comments below. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys about writing and how to create how to pick your level appropriate combative NPCs. So I've got all these screens over here on my left, and it's like, what's going on? Okay, here we go. So I was really excited today. I got up at my normal 5 a.m. and swung over to the computer, and everything just kind of flowed this morning. And so I got to write for a good 3-4 hours. And those days, I'm always happiest when I get to write. So I'm working on a new project for a new science fiction story. Not a very endearing protagonist right now, but I'm hoping to flesh him out. And really kind of a fun idea that I came up with I think it was about 6-7 months ago. And so be on the lookout on that. We'll have more news on that as that develops. Currently, Morticians, the novel, we still don't have a title. I haven't come up with a title for it yet. Is been sent off to an editor to be looked at, see if there's anything we need to be adding or look at more specifically as far as story development is concerned. And what's really exciting is that we started working, we're getting close to wrapping up the core rule book. And so be on the lookout for that Kickstarter announcement. We are really, really hoping to get it going live before October of this year, so that you will have a copy of it for Halloween for all your zombie Halloween gameplay. Look over here real quick just to ensure that my audio is going. Really exciting. Last week we got all the stuff for the encounter box, the Crossroads, the Introductory Undertaking out to the manufacturer. The ball's rolling on that. They've started manufacturing, so we are excited to get those sent out to you guys as soon as possible. For our VIP members, the screens are coming along nicely. They're looking really great, and we're excited to get that into your hands as soon as possible as well. For those of us who follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, you'll know that we've got swag of the hats and the Morticians t-shirts, and we're still working with manufacturers to get those available for sale. But for our backers, you guys had early access to it, so thank you for those purchases. We hope you like them, and we'll be sending those out with your encounter box all in one package. So you'll get your encounter box if you are a VIP member, the funeral director's screen, and if you picked it up, a hat and a shirt, along with some other little bit of swag that we're going to be throwing in there as a thank you for believing in us and backing us and supporting us. So let's see here. I think I'm supposed to click a button here. Let's see if I click this button, what happens. Oh, yeah. Okay, there we go. It says now I'm live. So for the Facebook guys, I'm sorry, I just went through a whole spiel here that you guys missed. If you guys missed it, go ahead and check out the YouTube channel after this to see what you missed. We talked about a couple of things. A little bit of a sad note. I'm sorry to say that this upcoming episode of Ladies of the Hoard will be our last. We're going to be wrapping up storylines and moving on. No particular reason, just it's kind of run its course. Some of us want to get our Saturdays back. We're all still friends. It's been a wonderful experience. I am really, really, truly appreciative of the ladies for sacrificing so much of their time to play the game and to help develop the world and to introduce it to a lot of you for the first time who follow at Jax Murray Gaming on Twitch. The experience has just been absolutely wonderful. All 5 of them are really close, fantastic friends. I still play games with several of them every other Friday, and I plan on seeing them this weekend to play even more games. So I believe that is going to be March 20th. Will be the last episodes. We aren't going to live stream it. We are going to record that one and then upload it later in the day. If you haven't checked out Ladies of the Hoard, I'm doing a lot of stuff with my hands. Hands are doing things. If you haven't had a chance to check out Ladies of the Hoard, you can always check out back episodes on Morticians RPG's YouTube channel. They don't stay up on Twitch for more than a week, but we also have, if you're interested in All Guy Cast with the Wolf Pack, where I'm the funeral director and 4 of my closest friends are playing Morticians in its earlier beta setting. So some of the fun things that have developed over time. I believe in the Wolf Pack we had the Cooler, which is now the gambling archetype. My really close friend Mike played that really, really well. He kind of played like Morty, the Irish Kula, and and then I was with my friend Bill and Kyle and of course George, and they all brought these wonderful characters, personalities to the game and to the story that I developed. And if you haven't had a chance yet, we just started uploading. We are on episode 3 this week of the Zombie Trail, where I'm once again sitting in the funeral director seat, and I'm playing with 4 great people. At Jax Murray Gaming is joining us with that, along with Brady, who is one of the co-owners of the Dragon's Hoard, which is a local game shop here in Fresno that we built this really great close relationship with. If you watch Ladies of the Hoard, his wife Jen is a member of the Ladies of the Hoard. And then we've got Bill, who's just a fantastic GM, and of course Patrick, one of our biggest fans, and we really appreciate all that he does for us in playing the games. And so the Zombie Trail is 4 new Morticians as they go down an abandoned interstate highway looking for new settlements and the adventures and experiences they have with that. So if you're interested in any of these, go ahead and swing by our YouTube channel. And if you like what you see, go ahead and hit the like and share and subscribe. So this morning I woke up and I started writing and everything was feeling really good. I have to admit, the last couple of days have been kind of a bit down. And then last night my wife said, if you're feeling down, have you been writing? And it's just kind of become this running truth in our household that if I don't write every day, I get depressed. And if I don't go outside and exercise or do yard work every day, I get bummed out. So it's kind of interesting how we need both physical and intellectual activities on the daily basis. We end up getting in a rut. Break those activities. Go out there and do something. So good 3-4 hours of writing today. I'm really, really excited about that. But today I wanted to talk to you about funeral directors picking combative, level appropriate NPCs in their game, and the system that we've created for Morticians to do just that. So let's hop on over to the PMP screen, the picture-in-picture screen, and I've got Adobe up, and I've got right here in front of me, this is excerpts from the core rule book, and it's in the funeral director's book at the end, so that So, like, the encounter box is designed to introduce new players of TTRPGs along with new players to the Morticians reality. So, the first half of the encounter box, which it has about 4 or 5 hours of gameplay in it, is it's kind of story driven, and it's to slowly introduce the rules and the mechanics of the world as a story develops. Once you finish that part of the book, the game opens up for an additional 6 to 8 hours of gameplay. But what we wanted to do is, on top of having pre-generated zombies and encounters in the box, we wanted to give funeral directors the ability that if they wanted to take everything from that box and write their own story and still play and have gameplay content until the core rule book comes out, they still have that ability. And we've done that with this with how we do monsters in the Morticians universe. So this is in the funeral director's book that you need to get, that you should get alongside with the starting rule book that goes into how game mechanics go a little bit deeper. If you've picked up the digital version of Crossroads, you'll have the funeral director's book, you'll have the starting rule book, and then the 6 character portfolios of the 6 archetypes that we introduce in the book. And the core rule book will actually have 12. And we're coming up and we're expanding on these different archetypes as we're developing, and we're bringing more breadth to the world that we've created. But for picking a level appropriate combative NPC, how I designed this was that the base of the NPC has levels. Now, in other role-playing games, this is all kind of obfuscated and put behind stories and everything. So if you're playing, a beginning game and you're fighting goblins, the goblins have a base stat block. And then you have more advanced goblins, but then you stop fighting the goblins, and then you might be fighting, a whole other, a werewolf or some other, fictitious monster. So what we did is, instead of shoehorning those monster types as you level, so at level 5 you always see this, at level 10 you always see this, we've just given the funeral directors the ability to construct their own monsters, and we give them the base level. So for level 1 characters, a normal encounter would be against zombies or combative NPCs that are level 1. So it's 1-to-1. So if you have 4 players, you'd pick 4 level 1 combative NPCs. And I'll break down what these charts and graphs means here in a little bit. And once you start looking at it, you realize, oh, this is really kind of straightforward, intuitive, what all of them doing. If you want to throw a lot more than just 4 combative NPCs, you can throw level 0s at the level 1 characters. Now, if you want to throw something challenging at your level 1 character, you could do 2 level 2s or 1 level 3 or level 4 base level combatant NPC. So it scales. So by the time you get to like level 4, you can throw higher level stuff at your characters. And how things grow here, and we'll just slide on over. So obviously we have a very consistent scalable experience points, and in the Morticians game, there's no add up all the experience points then divide by how many players you have. It's that experience points gets added up, and then that's the chunk everyone shares together. So when someone does a skill check, they're doing a repair on something, and you got the mechanic there, and the mechanic is successful, everyone shares in those experience points and levels together at the same time. This is a very useful mechanic if you have... Ooh, it must be lunchtime. I'm getting hungry. This is a very useful mechanic if you have games and characters who have other commitments. They can't always make it to your encounter. Well, if everyone's leveling at the same time, everyone's leveling at the same time. And so a person can miss a game, and the funeral director can still maintain a threat level that's consistent with the players without having to worry about, well, did I overshoot it? Is it too strong? Am I going to get a TPK? You want there to be risk, but you never want to out and out squish your players and give them the sense that they don't have hope to overcome the challenge. And the Morticians combat level for the NPCs scales in that manner, so it's always dangerous. The risk of death is always there, but they're not feeling overwhelmed, or they can't overcome the conflict. The HP for the base level actually scales with the average hit points of the player. So the enemies your players are facing against, the hit points are consistent with what the players should cumulatively have on average with themselves. Armor class does similar things. As the player skills get better, the AC gets higher, because, as you know, in Morticians, that if you want to shoot or stab something, you would take that skill, you'd subtract the AC, and then have to roll under it. The objective of the base level AC is to apply a modifier to the roll so that it's always about a 50-50 shot whether they make the hit or not. This maintains... Now, with mods and people dumping points into skills and stuff, there's always the option to maintain a consistent 75-80% chance to hit. But the AC kind of scales. So even your lowest hitting player still has a fighting chance, even though a caretaker may not be very good with a cleaver. He's still going to have a chance to hit his enemy if he swings at it. He may not be very successful with it, the damage might not be there, but at least he's able to be an active participant in combat. There are no archetypes that don't have the ability to defend themselves in a combat situation. Action points actually don't shift much. AP for action points. So consistently throughout the leveling, 8 and 6 is about the average for an action point to do something. There are certain types of NPCs that have buffs and penalties to action points. I mean, let's face it, if you're fighting a crawling torso that doesn't have legs, he is not going to move as fast as a shambler or a berserker. So that's the AP. Initiative is fun. We don't roll for initiative in Morticians. There are abilities and traits to increase your initiative, but your initiative score is your initiative score. So there are surprise rounds, there are mods, there are things you can do to speed up or slow down your initiative depending on what you want to do. But as the combatant NPCs get higher level, their initiatives do get up. And this was to ensure that as time progressed and the players got better, they weren't always going first, that it mixed things up, and they would have to deal with an ever increasing chance of having to go second, and the risk involved in how they approach combat. There is this fun thing that I get to see with the players is as they're playing and they get higher and higher levels, they take more and more risks. They get cocky. And adding a level of threat throughout the game to remind them, like, yeah, you are a walking badass, but even a walking badass can take a shot to the head. So initiative does progressively get higher and higher for combatant NPCs. The same with critical chance. So for Morticians, how crits work is because it's a percentile-based system. If you roll a 95 to 100, it's a crit. It's a crit fail. Because you're trying to shoot under a skill percentage for your roll, 1 to a number is your crit. So if your character's critical success crit is 5, any roll between 1 and 5 is a critical success. If you have a very high crit, you can have a crit up to 15. Any roll 1 through 15 is the critical success. So that's always exciting. With the monsters, because it is focused primarily on zombies, it starts out at 3, and I think the highest their critical successes go is 6. So there's always a chance that it has a critical success too, but it doesn't scale like your player character's ability to scale. So next we're going to get into these 3 blocks right here. And these are the attack blocks, and these are fun. So the attack one is the AP. We'll break it down. You have AP cost, 2 hit, and the damage. So for a level 0, it's a level 3. And how I look at these, and in the core rule books, it's going to be expanded upon a little bit more to be more clear. Is like attack 1 is melee. It's hand-to-hand combat. It's unarmed combat and your melee skills. And it really is kind of like your natural ability to like swing a baseball bat at a zombie's head. So that's what attack 1 is, 2 hit. Like just because it's easy to swing a bat at someone doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be very good at it. You're going to hit. So the chance to hit is around 40%, and then you have your damage. Now on attack 2, and if this is this is where things kick up a little bit. You have what would be considered. So attack 1 is like unarmed punches and kicks. Attack 2 would be melee with your swords, bats, and knives. So it's a little bit harder to hit, but you see the damage goes up. And then attack 3 would be your firearms or special attacks. The AP cost to perform is higher, so you're not going to be able to do it as much. The 2 hit is harder than your natural ability to throw a punch, but the damage output increases significantly. And so that's how that scales. And so that's the base level aspects of the game and what we were shooting for balance and consistency. And ensuring a consistent threat level, but one where the players could overcome and bring down. So once you have the base level that's appropriate. So for now, we're just going to talk about level 1 characters. So you have, let's say you have 4 level 1 combative NPCs to fight against your 4 newly fleshed Morticians. Now we go into the types, and the types allow the funeral directors. This is where it really differs from every other role-playing game. It was one of my favorite things about our mechanics is, so you add the type to the base. So if you don't add a type, you can just say it's just a level 1 zombie, or it's just a level 1 cultist, or it's just a level 1 wolf, right? So, excuse me, parched. Okay, so with the type, you add it to create more flavor. And this is to ensure that you're not always sitting around fighting shamblers or berserkers, and that we add a little flavor to the world. So we have the zombie human types. And, one of the tags we have right under is once a zombie sees its next target, it will not attack anything else until it kills its target. So once a zombie focuses on what it has, once its target is within grasp and it can smell your living flesh and it wants to eat your brains, it is going to ignore the outside world. We're actually going to change that to where if there's a damage threshold, a threat high enough, there will be a small level of self-preservation. And what does that mean? Well, if if it's focused on one thing and it can't get a hit in, and then there's another player behind it just kind of whacking away, and it's doing a considerable amount of damage, well, then it's going to turn around and be like, well, what's this thing trying to kill me? What's this thing? Well, I'm already dead. I'm a zombie. What's this thing hitting me? But for the most part, zombies they aren't cognitive. They don't bank extra action points to increase their AC. They don't defend very well. Their primary function when you are playing a combative NPC zombie is I need to feed, and so that's what it's going to do. It's going to feed. It's going to want to feed. It's going to want to get to that meal. It's going to want to eat it. So once the zombie sees its next target, it will not attack anything else until it kills its target. So you'll see right here on the first line, armored. So if you have a zombie human that's armored, we're talking like former military, we're talking local PD and SWAT. It gets a bonus to its armor class of plus 20. So if it's a level 1, its armor class is now 32. So now there's a penalty to hit it 32, whatever that player's skill is. And it has another penalty. It has a minus 5% to hit for targeted headshots. Now in the Morticians world, all of our Morticians have what we lovingly call the wand, and every Mortician's wand is kind of self-created. And basically the wand it does 1d4 damage. It doesn't do a lot of damage. It could be a screwdriver that's been sharpened to a point. It could be an ice pick. It could be a bayonet. It's a pointy handheld stabby thing is basically what a wand is. And you'd be like, well, why would anybody have this in the zombie cockpit? Well, there is the wand has one special ability that the players get, and that is if it is successful on a targeted shot against a zombie, it instantly kills the zombie. It is the only weapon in the game that does this. And so, but it requires that you get close. You have to be close enough to the zombie. So now you're moving into range for the zombie to attack you, and you're hoping that you land the targeted shot. So it's just a fun mechanic. You can't have zombies without headshots. So having an armored zombie, and I always imagine, a SWAT zombie, he's got the body armor and everything, but then he's got his helmet with a mask. Getting in there for that discombobulated drive to the target's head is gonna be kind of hard. So there's a bit of a penalty there. That is what is beautiful and fun about these types is I can throw a level 1 armored zombie at my players if my story needs a level 1 armored zombie to attack my players. I wrote an encounter where the first thing I threw at my players was that they needed to go to a police station for equipment and supplies to fight, and so they went to the police station and they cleared out the police station, but they needed to come across level appropriate cops and armor and everything. So that's one of the cool things about this system is that you can say, oh yeah, you happen to come across zombies coming out of the river, and they're waterlogged zombies, which means that they spend a considerable amount of time in the water, and now they're all bloated, and getting in close to attack those zombies are going to have different mechanics. Is it going to pop on them? Waterlogged zombies don't move very well on land, but if you're in the water with them, they swim like a fish. So as you develop your story with your players and they explore the world and you want to throw different environmental encounters, you aren't shoehorned in making that encounter a low level wolf because they're in the forest. But no, the wolf, that's his natural habitat, and it's level appropriate, and the risk and the threat and the fear of dying and turning into a zombie is always there. That's one of the things I love. And let's go ahead and take a look back with some other stuff. So we've got other really fun stuff. Earlier I mentioned the crawling torso, and its abilities is it has half the HP because it's half the zombie, right? And it's 2 AP to move 1 hex. So it's moving slower than other zombies. And I'm going to scroll back down here a little bit farther. So we got some more fun loving zombies here on page 39 of the Funeral Director's book. And we've got Rotters, which is one of my favorites. Rotters have a 10% chance to explode at any time of final death. If it pops, it releases gas and gore in a 1d4 diameter circle. PCs caught in a popping radius roll additional bacterial resistance when it's time to check. So in the game, if you come in contact with gore or a zombie successfully hits you, after combat, if you survive, you have to check your bacterial resistance to see if you increase an infection level. And so Rotters are great too, because you don't tell the player it's a Rotter. It's a zombie you have to face until they kill it. And then you roll to see if it's going to explode on them. Shamblers are fun. They move slower, but one of the fun things about Shamblers is you can mix a Shambler with a Hoard, or you could have multiple. So what's great about Shamblers is Shambler by itself isn't very threatening. But you get 3 Shamblers together, and now it stacks. So, or one game I was playing, there was players, they were clearing an old mansion, and I totally ripped this off from The Walking Dead. I thought it was brilliant storytelling. And they're walking across the floor, and they fell in, and in the water underneath was Shamblers in the basement underneath, not the water, the basement underneath. And so the players fell into a room, and there was 8 Shamblers. So I had these 2 players fall in, and there's these 8 Shamblers. So immediately they're in the situation where they have to fight. They have to, take care of these Shamblers. And even though they're not moving very fast, so the players are trying to stick and move and get out of the way of these Shamblers as they're attacking them. Every time a Shambler attack, it stacks. And so Shamblers are fun, especially one of the cool things you can do with this with the types is you can double up the types. I don't recommend putting 3 on. So like on the screen here, we have Hoard, 1d6 zombies, HP evenly divided between the zombies. So you can do a Hoard with the Shamblers, okay? And so what you do is you roll a d6, and that's how many zombies you have. So you can have a level 1, 6 zombie Shamblers that are together in a Hoard. Things can get out of hand real easy. Now, what you don't want to do is you don't want to do a level 1 Hoard Shambler armored, because now you've stacked 3 on, and the lift is a lot harder for the players to overcome. So the rule of thumb when doing this is you always pick at most 2 types. I like to consistently keep it at 1, but you can do a second one to kind of stretch out and really kind of bring some flavor to it. And we don't just have humans, or we just don't have zombies. We also have humans. So here's some of the potential combatant NPCs that you could be dealing with. We have ambush scouts, and then a chief, or nomads, guards, scout leader. Now, I know you're thinking scout leader. You're thinking, khaki shirt, handkerchief, in a forester's hat. A scout leader is really just the leader of the scouts of whatever rambling group you want to put together. We've got slavers, warriors, and scavengers. And so those are the living human types. And we need to distinguish between zombie humans and living humans, because in the Morticians world, Bacteria Z that infected the planet and killed off the majority of the human population affects mammals, and mammal zombies are on a sliding scale depending on how close they are to civilization. So, what that means is family pets like cats and dogs, unfortunately, turn to zombies. In the zombie apocalypse, zombie cat and dogs are everywhere. Horses, cattle, these animals that lived close to humanity, unfortunately, turned. But the farther you get into the woods, the least likely those animals had a chance to experience bacteria Z. So when you get into the woods, you could end up facing a bear, or by chance, you may face a zombie bear. So that's what we have for animal types. And with the animals, and this is just like I said, this is a small snippet that we created and added to the funeral director's guide, so that when you were done playing the encounter, you can create more stories and play more games while waiting for the core rulebook's release, which will have deeper and deeper information for a longer extended play. But the animal types we currently using, we've got bears, cows, dogs, and with these animals, they could be living or dead, as mentioned. And to make a zombie animal, you just -5 from the armor class. Armor class is based off of dexterity. The average stat for dexterity is 5, and so zombies don't have a natural instinct to protect themselves. We all do have like a natural level of protections in how we evolve. So animals have thicker hide and fur and natural abilities to defend themselves. But as far as defense, of moving out of the way of being hit and everything, so that's all you need to do to make an animal, a mammal, into a zombie. And Bill, who plays the zombie trail with us, we were playing a game during a promotional local game shop. We were going around the Central Valley to local game shops and kind of showing the game. And he ran a game where he actually created, it was absolutely terrifying, a pack of zombie raccoons, and then a small herd, I think they're called herds, a small herd of zombie hogs. And that was absolutely terrifying. It was so much fun to encounter because the raccoons were very, well, they're raccoons, so they operated on a smaller scale, kind of like zombie people in a sense. And they were moving in a group, but they were very fast. They were harder to hit because they were smaller. And then the zombie hogs, the zombie boars, one of them had like a reverb pipe sticking out of it where it like went through a barbed wire fence. So it had a weapon attached to it, and it was harder to hit. And when it hit you, it had potential to cut you. Or there was a third one that was really good. He I forget what it was, but it was a type of spitter. And what's great about spitters is spitters have like this mucus that they're able to shoot out from you, and it's got a short range. It's only got 5 hexes, so it still has to get close enough to spit at you. But it does 1d10 plus 10 damage once, and then it has to recharge the spit before doing it again. But he caused it to have, he had acid, and we ended up adding this to the game because he came up with this idea. I thought it was brilliant. So he spit and it missed, and where it landed, he said it was caustic acid. So when if you walk through it, the acid caused 1d4 to the player if the player ending their turn in that area. But what had happened was his spitter was on the side of like a dry stream. The name escapes me, but there wasn't anywhere else to go. You had to walk down this path because right next to us was a wall, and then there was a ravine. Aha, there we go, ravine. So we had a ravine to the left, and we had a wall to the right, and we had this path, and the spitter was there, and it was spitting at us, and sometimes it missed, and sometimes it hit. And so now we had acid pockmarks on our hex map that we had to try to get to him. And I believe the way the positioning was, we didn't have a shooter in the area that can shoot. The only person nearby was melee. So the melee person was in there trying to commit melee damage to take down the spitter. So that was really fun. Oh man, I'm really dry today. Whenever the allergies change, I seem to just dry out, and so I apologize. Drinking some water to keep it going. So yeah, that is how types work, and that's how you can pick out the appropriate level. Now, for the core rulebook, this is extended. We have 36. No, I think we're up to 40 zombie types, 40 different zombie types, and another 40 different human types. On every day, we're researching and we're looking at mammals to add them to the core rule book to continue to give all this flavor into your storytelling and developing of the world. So be on the lookout for that. But if you haven't had a chance yet, go ahead and swing over to Drivethru-RPG. Links down in the comments below, and check out the game. We have a pay what you want for tokens and maps. So if you're a big fan of Roll20 or any other VTT like I am, you can download those and use them in your games. They are scaled. I've actually used every single one of those maps and tokens for a hex grid in Roll20, so I know it works really, really well. And once again, really excited for you guys to be here. Excited for you guys to get those encounter box now that they're getting ready to go. And I look forward to talking to you guys again. Peace.